Hello, everyone. We're here with another lovely episode of the Apex Coalition show. I've got Kevin Kern back from last week, our founder and CEO, and I'm also joined here with our reigning champion, more rings than Kern in the non-kicker era, of course, Jack Houts. I'm here for the first time on the show, first time of many, we of course hope. How are y'all doing today?
Go ahead, Kern.
Can you hear me? Is my sound working now, Alexander?
Kern, you're sounding great. Majestic.
My sound's working great?
Morgan Freeman's jealous.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. We had a great day. I'm happy to be back on the pod with the boys. Happy to have our reigning champ here. He definitely gave us quite a pounding during an already pounding year of COVID, but, we will definitely pay homage to him in the slide and dive into this glorious draft recap from this NFL draft.
And that is what we're going to be talking about for the majority of our time today is draft recap. Before we kind of get going here with the slides that we've got for everybody, we think it'd be just a hoot and holler and a fun time to answer y'all's questions, like in a mailbag kind of way. So leave comments on the video, or if you're in one of our group meets, send us questions there, DM us, whatever you want to do, or email the Apex Coalition Boys at gmail.com. So just that'd be kind of fun to do if we could kind of wrap up each show with stuff y'all have. If not, we'll just talk about ourselves. So
now, Alexander, is Apex Coalition Boys spelled with 2 or 3 Z's at the end?
First of all, it's the Apex Coalition Boys, and it's with a 69420 that's silent at the end.
Perfect.
And Jack, we're just going to go ahead and start with this Jack praise slide.
I wonder who made this.
Yeah.
How did this make its way in there?
Jack,
who knows?
This is this is your time to talk us through how our peanut brains will never be as large as yours.
Look, it is a miraculous feeling to go 13-1. There was a real opportunity there, throughout the season to potentially go 14-0, and then obviously clean house in the playoffs. But really, this all started back in 2019.
Oh my God!
And if we want to go all the way back, we could actually go back to Derrick Henry's massive run against the Jags, where he just threw people down on the sideline, with no consideration for human life whatsoever.
Right.
That's really where Derrick Henry blasted onto the scene, and then the next year, just drafted him for $25, and the rest is history. The $11 Eckler keeper turned out to be a real thorn in the side because, he decided to drop one of his hamstrings off of his bones.
Yeah.
So that didn't really help, but I will acknowledge very quickly that, having Derrick Henry in the barn already made me comfortable to go out and get, kind of a Patrick Mahomes premium QB and spend a little bit more money on, receivers than I'm used to spending. I was just very fortunate for those to all hit in a way that they could hit. So, I got Ridley, Lockett, and Diggs, I think, from the draft, and, turned Ridley quickly into... What did I get there? I think I turned Ridley and Waller into Thielen, Mark Andrews, and someone else before week 1, and then quickly turned, Lockett and David Montgomery into Dalvin Cook, and kind of rode that one out for the rest of the year. We'll ignore the fact that I went, undefeated in division, and just really talk about how Curran, you ruined my perfect season, really, if you want to think about it that way, because I remember being at the Texas-Oklahoma college football game, and I get a text message in the middle of the second quarter, and it's from Curran, and he says, "Hey, as a fellow person that owns Melvin Gordon elsewhere, how do you feel about him?" And I was like, he is a less talented version of David Montgomery with better opportunity. And so he goes, "I feel the exact same way." And I leave that game painfully disappointed as a Texas Longhorns fan, just to find out that Curran has traded Taylor Morris, he who shall not be named and who is very feared in this house. He has traded him Melvin Gordon, and the next week Melvin Gordon gets a garbage time touchdown, giving me my only loss this season. So Curran, I want to put that one on you and give you a big old fuck you. I've never got to say that.
We made some solid moves throughout the year that just didn't pan out, but I'm glad that they could be felt by others.
Yeah, that's easily your best move of the year. Easily your best move of the year, Curran.
Melvin Gordon for AR-15?
Yeah, and so just for anyone looking that isn't in the league, just so y'all know, it's a $200 auction draft, so Jack didn't get Derrick Henry for a fourth of his overall draft budget. It was a $25 keeper of a $200 budget, so it's just a fantastic pick that he strategically planned in advance. Now, Jack, one thing I do want to ask you about is this great triangle of success you've presented for us. Good keepers and trades, great schedule run, and a fantastic draft. Now, is it possible to have a season as good as your almighty season if one of those things doesn't happen?
I'll just say, you know what it should look more like? Like it should look like a very long triangle, and like the good keeper part should be an inflated giant with these other circles like orbiting around it. I mean, look, y'all are gonna see real quick because I'm gonna look. We already went over my season last week. We're not gonna go over it again, but I'm now walking into the year with I think it's like a $34, $35 JT and like a $14 DeAndre Swift, and y'all is the first time in like 4 seasons where I'm gonna have more than fucking like $70 to spend because of fucking Gurley and CMC.
Hey, Curran, remember when you had Gurley and CMC in 2017? Does that ring a bell? Selective memory much?
Did I win that year, or did I lose in the playoffs?
I'm not sure.
I
can't remember.
I really can't. I won one of those years, but all I'm saying is I'm usually not in a spot where I get to have really good value keepers, and I'm just saying it's going to be fun.
I will say
Load up the wagon, boys.
I will say this. Good keepers helped, but you cannot sit here and say that my keepers were the only reason that I won. If you take Derrick Henry out of this and Eckler out of it, that fantastic draft deserves to be a really big part of this. And I think, really, Alexander, to answer your question in terms of, could it just be 2 things? I don't think the schedule really helped me that much here. I think if you go back and look at the performance of my team over the whole part of the year, I want to say I was the highest scoring player, and this is outside of playoffs because I did score the most of anyone in playoffs both weeks, so it doesn't really matter how we seed it. I want to just save Curran
make that clear.
The trouble there. But I think I scored the most points 6 or 7 weeks, and I think I was the runner-up to that, 2 or 3 weeks on top of that.
No,
so
yeah,
really,
it's definitely not just Derrick Henry. Like you don't fall into that position you're in accidentally. Like all respect to you for that season. It was, you broke records across the board. It was a LSU like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Jefferson-esque season that just like all things hit perfectly. And I don't know if we'll see it again, but it's worth taking time to take note and pay homage to, because it is a moment in Apex history that, I'm not sure, that we'll ever see a season like that again. So, maybe so, but everything needs to hit for someone to score that many fucking points and just be a lock to make the championship like week 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So.
It was very clear from the get-go that it was Jack was going to be in playoffs, and anyone else that wanted to go was going to have to deal with them. We are going to move on now to the draft recap. Before we get into the specifics, we're going to break down positions that got drafted for fantasy. Well, this is kind of the time I wanted to, if anyone had any just general impressions about non-fantasy pieces, right? Because there aren't really metrics for, the defense got better, or that offensive line got a lot better in fantasy. So did y'all have any just general takes about teams that did well in the draft, or anything y'all want to highlight that's non-positional?
I mean, I think the Raiders are trolling. I mean, they like traded their entire O-line away.
Yeah.
They traded their entire O-line away, and they picked up Kenyon Drake in free agency as like their big pick, and then their pick was this like, I forget what position they drafted him, but it was like
It's an O-lineman, right? It
They
was.
drafted an O-lineman, but they reached on him, and I saw
Yeah.
like the only like usually like these qualities pop up on like players like 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 they do certain things right or something like that. And his only quality was like he makes fire memes. Like he's known. He's
Cool
like,
last name. Cool last name.
Yeah, what's his name?
That's
Leatherwood?
quality.
Leatherwood? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no, yeah, it's a total Raiders draft pick, but it's just like
Yeah.
outside of fantasy, like that was just the funniest thing I saw. And as always, Libby's not here to defend his Packers, but just watching the Packers continue to like
That's a bad situation.
slap Aaron Rodgers in the face is just kind of ridiculous. But
I mean, yeah.
I'll throw homage in terms of, we may talk about draft winners and losers positionally later, but I think you have to say that between the trades they made in the first round for the Giants and the Cowboys, the Cowboys really kind of bent over the Eagles to get a future.
That
to
was
get a third.
insane. Insane.
And that was, I solely think, one of the best moments of the draft last year was watching the Cowboys go with CeeDee Lamb and leaving the Eagles fucking scrambling for a wide receiver because everyone and their mother knew that the Eagles were going wide receiver last year to start the draft.
A tilt.
And
tilt.
That's when Jerry was drafting on his submarine or whatever it was. That was so cool. Yeah. No, that
was a good war room last year for the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
And then obviously the Giants, pillaged the Chicago Bears for picks. Hopefully it works out for Justin Fields there. Because
for sure. Well, we're going to talk about him right now. We're going to start off with QBs. Obviously, the first overall pick was a surprise to absolutely no one. Trevor Lawrence did go first overall. Urban Meyer did not decide to be different. And then Zach Wilson went. Now, Jack, you just drafted Zach Wilson in our rookie draft for Dynasty. Talk me through what you like about Zach Wilson.
So I think really on the Zach Wilson front, it's not much about Zach Wilson, unfortunately. He got pretty rave reviews from the draft community, but I really saw it as where I was on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think from a
hear him out.
Okay.
I think from a standpoint of throws he can make and athleticism and what I would assume the new regime in New York is trying to do, he obviously was the best fit because New York knew that Trevor was going to be gone, and so they had their pick of the litter. Honestly, if the Jets had taken Justin Fields, I wouldn't have been surprised. I'm not here arguing that Zach Wilson is the second best quarterback in the draft.
Okay.
But I will say that from immediate opportunity developing under who has been a great defensive head coach, potentially providing him, potentially coaching the game around having a rookie quarterback and keeping that in mind is always something that's nice to know. And they obviously, I think the Jets went with Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, and I think they even had some more weapons that they got him, throughout the draft. It's a young offense that by no means am I expecting anything out of Zach Wilson this year from a dynasty perspective and a production perspective.
The 107 was a good spot to take it. I mean, he should go between the 107 and 110. I think,
and that's in super flex for everyone else.
I think what Alexander's highlighting is you let Jamar Chase, who for the folks at home who don't know too much about fantasy, he outproduced Jefferson in the LSU in that beautiful like serendipitous season. Beauty and wonderful. He outproduced him at 19 years old, and that motherfucker won Rookie of the Year, or should have won Rookie of the Year at wide receiver last year. And it's a very, even in Superflex, I thought that was because I was sitting there and I was very, very scared you were going to make me force my hand to take Zach Wilson at 108, but lordy, letting him fall to 108, I am here for it all day. I think that we can segue into that. I think that although it wasn't the best football move, I think Jamar Chase was a big winner because he lines up with his homie who they had that wonderful season with. in Cincinnati, I think that was a hand-selected pick, not by Joe Burrow directly, but I think he had a huge influence in that. Apparently, he had texted. So apparently, he texted him the day before and said, "Pack your bags." You know, so I think it was already known. It was already known before.
I didn't know that.
He was, like it was already known before anything even happened with the draft that he was going to go there. So I mean, it's just like, it was a wonderful draft. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to. I don't like Zach Wilson, but after hearing Jack's explanation of it, I'm not even kind of upset at the pick because everything that Jack said is correct.
I mean, he got top 2 draft capital. I mean, he's safe for like the next 3 or 4 years.
At least 3 years.
Sam Darnold still has value, and he's probably like the worst case scenario of what Zach Wilson will be. And like, I mean, so yeah, I mean, like at the 107, you can't really hate that. Honestly, who I think was a real big loser, honestly, is Justin Fields. And during our rookie draft, when Golly immediately took him at the 102 or 3 or whatever it was, it just, I mean, like, he was my number 2 prospect, and I'm not going to pretend like I know about prospecting, like NFL caliber quarterbacks. I'd leave that to the pros.
Kern the scout,
But the fact that 7 QB needy GMs who get paid millions of dollars to like scout these guys passed on him, and he just fell way too far to where Chicago eventually, like, bent him over and traded up to get him, which I think was a good move. But just like, it was such a fall for me to like, just like, I mean, like, something's not right about it, and I'm gonna kind of leave it as maybe like a football thing over a fantasy thing. Like, I still would take him in the top 5 for a super flex draft, but just be mindful of how you rank these top 3 QBs.
Kern, I think that's a really bad take. Let's talk about. We're going to talk about him some more. Him and Trey Lance are my favorite quarterbacks, obviously outside of Trevor Lawrence. So we're going to talk about Justin Fields in just a second. No, fuck that. We're going to talk about it now. Kern, he got picked at 11, and you're saying he fell so far when the first 3 picks were QBs. And you had teams like Miami, who had just drafted a quarterback, Carolina, who had just traded for a young quarterback. What do you mean he fell all of that way? Another thing is, look, this is just gonna pat Jack on the back more. I was wrong about David Montgomery. No, Kern, you had your chance to talk nonsense. David Montgomery is a serviceable running back at least, if not above average. You've got Allen Robinson. You've got Mooney, who I think will continue to get better. This was not a terrible pick by Chicago at all. I think the trade, while it was expensive, was the right thing to do. I also don't like. What do you mean, Justin? There's something wrong with him, Kern. What have you seen with your beady little bird eyes? Like, what are you talking about?
All I'm saying is, look, none of us in this room or in this Discord can pretend like we have the level of projection with NFL quarterbacks like these professionals do. It's the one position that, a lot of us missed Herbert, a lot of us missed,
Yeah, Kern, you hated Herbert, so that's true.
Yeah. We all hated Herbert.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes, Jack loved Herbert. Jack was a big fan of him from the start. But let's be very clear.
No.
All I'm saying is that he's still my QB3. He's still going to go. He should go in the top 5. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I'm just saying it's very interesting that you have, on one hand, a very, very, very competent general manager and head coach in San Francisco traded 3 first-round picks to go up and take someone like Trey Lance, while someone like Justin Fields, who gets all the media attention, who's been highlighted as a top prospect since he was coming out of high school. I mean, he fell to the 111 where Chicago had to trade up to get him. I mean, I'm just saying it's something to be mindful of. It's not something to say that he's fucked. Obviously, he shouldn't fall past the top 5 picks. He should go in the top 4 picks. But it's something to be mindful of, and when you're in super flex drafts, just think about that if you're choosing between Trey Lance and Justin Fields.
All right. I think that's going to age like milk left on the counter. But what I do want to talk about now is Trey Lance. I thought it was awesome that San Francisco picked him. And my question to y'all is, do you think that they could win a Super Bowl this year if he starts?
I don't think so. What do you think, Jack?
I was the one that said no chance.
No chance?
My immediate reaction off of that is, I mean, there's
Super Bowl.
was
Big
Brady.
Ben took
Brady
someone
was
to
the
the
last
Super Bowl,
rookie
but-
like that won a Super Bowl, right? Like in his first year starting, really. I don't even know if he was a rookie technically.
No, Big Ben was the. Wait, did Big Ben win or did he just make it there?
I'm not sure.
This is
This is
I'm not
solvable
sure.
by
Big Ben
Google.
made it. Yeah, he's not going to. Yeah, so I don't think
They made a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you think he's better day one than Jimmy Garoppolo?
no.
I think he is.
Really?
Better-
I think he.
better
I think he
skill-wise?
is.
Better
I think
Skill
he
wise,
is.
yes. I don't think he's a better NFL quarterback yet. I don't think he could. I don't think if you put him in week 1 versus Jimmy week 1, like your season starts the same way. I think
Really?
Jimmy has a legitimate chance to put the Niners at. Look, if you're asking me, right? So your average rookie QB, especially one that gets this much draft capital poured into him, but doesn't have an immediate, obvious opportunity to start, right? Like obviously Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are going to start day 1. We know that.
We would hope.
like we know that that's going to happen. Trey Lance has legitimate competition. I cannot bring myself to call Andy Dalton in Chicago legitimate competition, but there's competition. And if you're talking like
How are we
out
calling
of the
Jimmy
first,
Garoppolo legitimate competition?
I know.
I mean,
That's awful. He lost his job to Nick
I'm trying to wrap this and just say, if you were to measure it on the first 4 or 6 games, because I would say that when you have a first round QB that's a rookie that's coming in, that has had the time to professionalize himself and get used to the season, that seems to be when conveniently the savvy vet in front of him happens to have an ankle that hurts a little too much or a sore shoulder, and the rookie takes over from there. If you were to say to me, if Trey Lance starts week 7 and contributes in some form or fashion week 5, week 6, obviously controlling for buys, I think the 49ers are a win or 2 better at that point than if Trey Lance starts week 1.
I think that's very interesting, Jack. I don't really agree with half of what you said, but I think it's interesting, and I can't prove you wrong. We'll have to see. Well, let's move on to Macaroni Jones. My question for you, gentlemen, is how many games does Cam start?
As many until he does what he did last year. I mean, he fell apart last year.
How many is
What's
that?
wrong with that dude?
How many is it? How many games?
Cam's, I will go with a bold pick of 8. I think
He Cam's to play 8 games.
I think Cam will play 8 games, barring injury.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Which is,
I mean, he just has to not do. I mean, like it's hard to say, but like watching him fall apart last year, like he didn't look like I don't know if it's like health or if it's just like he look at his box score and look at how he played. It was horrendous. ANF. Like I think you, me, and Jack could go out there and maybe do something similar to what he did. It was piss poor on all fronts. And Macaroni Jones, I mean, say what we will about him, he's someone where if Bill Belichick puts him out there, I think he can do enough right to, I mean, I don't know, do enough right. He's a fucking statue. He doesn't add any upside to the game like these other quarterbacks do. I mean, he's a very, everyone compares him to Kirk Cousins. I mean, I think that's his ceiling. I've always said that. I mean, but I think that's what New England kind of likes. So,
Well, I've got a little bit of a different take. I think that Cam starts the whole season because what does New England have to gain by Jones either risking injury or starting him before he's ready? They're not meeting the Bills. They're not meeting the Dolphins in that division. I think why? I mean, Cam's on a 1-year deal. Use him up.
I
don't think. I mean, Mac might see some second half work this game, or
I think
this
you
season.
use him because he was only used he only had top 15 draft capital put into him, and that's another thing. Well, I won't go back to Fields, but it's I don't think the coaching staff will ever change in New England. So I don't think that like the investment in Mac Jones is at risk. That's another side thing with Justin Fields. I think if Chicago fucking hits the shitter this year and that coaching staff gets fired next year and they have a top 5 pick next year, that's just another, just possibility where someone, I don't know.
No.
Doesn't that pick go to the Giants? Didn't they swap next year's first?
Yes.
So
swap next year's first. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
now the Bears got like a 3rd and a 4th also, but they did lose their first for next year.
I think if anything, not to really derail us, because you two are pretty high on this guy, but that probably spells trouble more than anything for Daniel Jones.
I mean,
I'm not high on Daniel Jones. By any stretch.
Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton are winning a Super Bowl sooner rather than later. I included the other quarterbacks outside of the first round here. I don't really think there's anything super pressing about any of these people. Do y'all want to talk about them at all?
The most painful thing is, as the Texas fan in the room, is to say that by far the best opportunity on this board, and I'll even say including Macaroni Jones, is Kellen Mond. He brings a completely different style of play to the Vikings, and Kern was obviously stroking himself over there to Justin Jefferson earlier in the episode. But if you had Dalvin Cook on a long-term deal, which you've got rookie Justin Jefferson locked up probably on... Was Justin Jefferson drafted in the first?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got him.
You've
got him on a 5-year option. Thielen, I'm not saying is going to be around forever. And then Herb Smith is a good tight end, a developing tight end.
Yeah.
Like, you've got so many weapons, and you add the idea that the quarterback can run a sub 5-second 40 to that offense, and it looks different and scary. No matter who the Vikings are. So I think if you were to say, dynasty value, obviously no redraft value, barring Kirk Cousins dying.
Yeah.
But Kellen Mond is probably worth in a 12-team Superflex draft. I would not shy away from Kellen Mond in the late second.
In a rookie draft, right, Jack?
Yes. Rookie draft.
Okay.
Of course. No, startup draft. Take Kellen Mond over, Diggs, Chase, Burrow. You're playing the long game. You're playing the long game.
I agree with everything Jack said. Actually, I think that's a very good take. I thought the exact same thing when they drafted him, because this is why, I'm just a whore for the Konami code quarterback, the dual threat quarterback. I've just seen so many new young QBs come to the league that have just broken franchises in such a way where they're competing immediately, just because they bring such a new element to the offense. The era of Kirk Cousins and these statue quarterbacks. The NFL's too fast now. You need to spice it up. And this dude, although it is a 3rd round draft capital, it's not great, but it is enough to where he would definitely intrigue me at the back of the 2nd round.
Well, let's move on now. Sorry. What's up?
Whoa. I'll give a hot take real quick and just say, I think that the dual threat quarterback has probably benefited more from the teams negotiating, better terms in terms of rookie salaries and the 5th-year option out of the first round and the longer-term contracts for rookies more than anything else. And it allows, these quarterbacks to be themselves and who they were in college and use their legs, because really teams at the end of the day aren't trying to develop, Tom Brady's and Kirk Cousins anymore. Whenever they were paying rookies, tons of money, and they said, you need to stay healthy, you can't run. Now it's I'm not saying they're a dime a dozen yet, right? But you see teams treat running backs as a dime a dozen. You see teams treat certain wide receivers that aren't, what I'll call, kind of on the genetic freak side. If you're fast and, lightweight, we saw that this year. If you're 6'2" and trying to play the X spot, teams are just going to use those younger guys faster, and, the strong survive to have a longer NFL career. I think that's kind of happening at the QB position. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens with old Kellen Mond. But we're not even going to get one hot take about Davis Mills from A&F. Like, not
Moving
one.
on to receivers. Now, Jamar Chase was the first one that was taken, and he was the 105. As Current was talking about earlier, he's reunited with Joe Burrow.
I cheered, Alexander. I literally was watching that with King Hoot and the current conglomerate. And I literally jumped up and cheered when that
Really?
went. And
Yeah.
everyone, like, I know it's an awful NFL pick anyway. It's so fucking fun.
I don't even
It's
think
such a
it's
fun
that bad of
first
an
round.
NFL pick, because, like, they picked tackles like in the second and fourth round. Everyone was writing off the
Yeah.
draft for Cincinnati as like they're done. They've
I
ruined
agree.
Joe Burrow's knees. Like, what the heck? It's a long draft.
It's a fun pick, but like there were two generational, or they're
Yeah.
saying generational prospects linemen in that draft, and something's like like that poor dude ran around like a chicken with his head cut off back there. It's like you need to protect him, but it's fun though. It's fun, and we're here for it. And that dude has really rattled values across the board, and he is inflating upwards right now. People are hyped.
Yep. Do you think that he's the? Do y'all both think he's the best receiver out of this draft?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Bias. It's just like
Yeah.
Like I think like
No, I agree.
like,
I just
the
wanted to check.
combine yeah. Like I just don't see how you argue anyone else. I mean, like fantasy wise, anything can happen, but just like overall talent, I mean,
Sure. No, I agree. But there's some people saying Devontae Smith is actually the best receiver. So I just didn't know if y'all thought that or not.
I will take an even darker horse at. Look, Jamar Chase. I'm not about to come out here and say that Jamar Chase is not the best receiver in this draft, but if you were to consider it from a fantasy perspective and where they landed, and no matter how much I hate Tua, because I do think the Dolphins lost their best QB by getting rid of Ryan Fitzpatrick this past year, but Jalen Waddle having the same established connection that Jamar Chase has with Joe Burrow, and playing from a more favorable, I'll call it, slot position probably more often. Look, Curran, you can correct me if I'm going way over my skis on LSU positions here, but I'm pretty sure Jefferson was in the slot. I watched him catch that pass against Texas live in the stands. So, Tua loves the slot receiver. Jalen Waddle's in Miami. I will say that from a fantasy take perspective, gun to my head, I would actually draft, Jalen Waddle sooner in a redraft format than I would Jamar Chase. I think there's a lot of talent in Cincinnati, and you could see some crowding out. Like, T. Higgins is obviously very, very good. There is not necessarily the same young, hungry wide receiver in Miami, in my opinion, that is, fighting for targets like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase will be fighting with each other on.
That is just absurd.
I
I was with you until the end, Jack.
No. I won't rip Jack apart. I'll say that it's a crowded room, but like when you look at the target distribution last year, look at what Cincinnati did. They added nothing to defense. They added Jamar Chase. They're going to be they're going to have to score as many points as possible to even win games this year. And I think Joe Burrow threw the ball before he got hurt. Like I think Cincinnati in general threw the ball like 700 times. Like I think AJ Green, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd all got over 100 targets. I mean, I think he's a lock for 100 targets as a rookie. I mean, and I think that, just the fact that they came so far in their relationship in college. I mean, I see the appeal of Jalen Waddle, and like I think that's not like if you went to the betting books and you wanted to bet on Jalen Waddle as beating Jamar Chase in stats. I mean, I wouldn't blame you for it, but yeah, like in a redraft, dynasty, anything. I just think athletically, like just skill wise, I mean, Jamar Chase is something that I will not be taking Jalen Waddle over.
This is a free one for everyone in Apex, but I would say that Jalen Waddle has the chance to be a dollar keeper for the 2022 season.
I think he'll cost $1 too.
keeper.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle?
Yeah.
I'd pay more for that. I mean, yeah, like I think
What I'm saying is,
Jamar Chase-
go get him this year. Go get him this year for cheap. He's gonna be wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 level off the board. We know that those go in the very low single digits if they're not just like auto dollar drafts in our auction format. And I don't think Jamar Chase is going to have that kind of value in terms of I think that you guys are going to bid him up, and Jalen Waddle might have a better year too than Jamar Chase does. So we'll let that age like milk on the counter, according to A&M.
We'll see what happens. I think a lot of these receivers are pretty self-explanatory. Like, Jack brought up Elijah Moore earlier. We're gonna see how that works. I don't expect much out of some of these guys in year one.
The best value is Terrace Marshall by far.
Yeah, that's who I was going to ask about. Is
that's insane.
What do you think you can expect out of him year one? Because with a lot of these guys that went after Devonta Smith, I'm not really just expecting a lot of production year one. But what do you think? Terrace Marshall's the difference?
He's a big. I mean, he had very he scored very high in his athletic abilities at the pro day, and I mean he was in a crowded wide receiver room we talked about Jamar Chase and our boy JJ Jetts. And I mean I think that he sat out. I mean I think that his value is very underappreciated right now, and I think that it is an offense with Sam Darnold. We're not going to know how that's going to play out. I mean it's definitely a risk. For redraft, I probably wouldn't put too much of a, stake into it. I mean, maybe like a dollar dart throw. But I mean, for Dynasty, he's probably my wide receiver 1, 2, 3. He's like my wide receiver 4 or 5 probably.
Really?
I mean, I would take him. Yeah, I would take him over. I wouldn't take him. I would take Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. No, fucking Jamar Chase. Yeah. Fucking Rashad Bateman. And then probably.
Would you take him over? Would you take him over Elijah Moore?
Yes, I would.
Jack.
The only thing I would disagree with on that is I think his value in Carolina is directly correlated with how long Joe Brady stays there. I think that Joe Brady, towards the end of the second, said, "This is who I want." Kind of had his hand in the jar there. But if Joe Brady leaves Carolina, I'm not going to act like Terrace Marshall is about to come out and say, be anything above, yearly wide receiver 3 from a fantasy perspective. If anything, I think that's if Joe Brady leaves, I think that if you're, let's see, if we're talking a super flex dynasty draft, 5th wide receiver is going off the board probably in the mid-second. I think you're better off probably drafting a couple other players in terms of wherever you sit than Terrace Marshall. I'm not going to say though that there are definitively wide receivers that I would draft over him. I would probably just adjust my strategy at that point depending on what my team's looking like.
Yeah, his profile is so well. He's almost 6'3", 205. I mean, got a 40-inch vertical. I mean, he's just a very underrated athletic guy that, he's found himself in a very, and Joe Brady gives me a lot of inflation with it. So, that's definitely part of it. Dwayne Eskridge is a fucking broke out his senior year, and he's almost 25, and Seattle took him in the second round. No one knows what's happening there. Tutu Atwell weighs 140 pounds. Outside of that, there's really not a lot to really talk about here. We all kind of know about. I don't know. Any of the other guys, Alexander, that you want to?
No, I don't. The one thing I will say is, I think the Giants just tossed that pick, but that's I don't know. We'll see.
I'm not sure about that pick. I think
that's a toss of a pick. I'll go out there and say it's a toss of a pick.
Yeah.
That was apparently an NFL move. I think it was a toss of a pick, but that's just giving them credit. I think it was a shitty pick. It was an awful pick.
Hopefully, Mr. Tooney will prove us wrong. Moving on to running backs. And next, our next slide's winners and losers. So for now, let's just, as much as we can, focus on these players individually.
From an NFL level?
Yeah, let's focus on the NFL because we're going to talk about especially whole ETN here in just a second.
Okay.
But
it was a very impulsive first round for these guys. I think you could put Najee Harris in in Pittsburgh. It's a wonderful fantasy situation. I do think that they really needed to work on their O-line. I mean, I don't know if there's a ton of O-line in... I don't know what O-linemen were left at the end of the first round, but I mean, like, look, like I took Najee in our fantasy draft. I love him. He's going to get like 300 touches, I think, out the gates. Like, he's built to take on a workload. There's no one in that backfield. We'll talk about that, but just it's such a bad line. I just really think you should have probably faded Najee at the 24 pick and probably just drafted a lineman to beef up that O-line. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, it is a perfect fit of, like, you know, what do I need
style.
now? Oh, James
Yeah.
Carney left. Like, let's give Big Ben one more big weapon.
Yeah,
to
this is
get
like
on
the
that.
last rodeo. This is the last dance.
So, yeah, that's my take on Najee. I mean, like, we can
But-
talk about.
Yeah, let me ask kind of generally. We'll start with Jack. How many of these running backs have the ceiling of finishing as an RB2 this year?
The ceiling,
The
like,
ceiling.
RB2 being an option,
Yes.
like because I don't want to. I'm not going to go on tape saying like Najee Harris will only be an RB2
Right. No. I'm
Right.
saying which of them have the possibility of finishing as an RB2?
or better. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Like,
Yes.
Like
yes.
I'm not gonna sit here and say Najee Harris is gonna be an RB2 when
Right.
I legitimately believe there's a chance he could be an RB1.
Exactly. No. RB2 or higher is what I mean. I'm sorry. I phrased that poorly.
If I'm Vegas, I'm setting the over under at 2.5 because, you know, I've kind of come out and said, you know, the reason Travis Etienne is going to be, you know, a winner in the Jacksonville realm is, you know, you've got a really strong option, obviously, at running back. They did great last year, and you just say, hey, now you have more pedigree. You know, Travis comes in with Trevor Lawrence and does the exact same thing. Najee Harris, chance to be an RB2. I would say that, you know, from all the reasons that Kern just listed in terms of the line, and then on top of that, you know, older QB, you may have some struggles from him, you know, 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
But if you're playing, you know, Dynasty Fantasy Football and you get the chance to get Najee Harris, like, get him, and then if the situation evolves, you can make adjustments later, because obviously the Steelers are a great organization, and I don't doubt their ability to, you know, navigate that appropriately within the next 2 years to make sure that he has, you know, the help he needs in order for them to, you know, make good on that investment. You know, the 2.5 and where I have trouble is, like, I don't think Javonte Williams can do anything unless Melvin Gordon gets hurt. I do think Trey Sermon could be a threat, but the 49ers churn through running backs. You know, Michael Carter, no chance.
Whoa. Okay. Now hold on. Now. I love
I don't
Michael
like Michael
Carter.
Carter. I don't like Michael Carter. But he's walking into a room. And I saw a stat. I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not gonna try to. Spark Notes. It was like he's competing in a room with a guy who, like, with 2 guys who are undrafted and a guy who averaged, like, you know, 0.65 yards per carry like the last 6
Exactly.
games.
So I
He's
said,
walking in
yeah.
the most fucking, like, cush room. But again, there's a reason Michael Carter Jr. came in and guys liked him and he fell to the 4th round.
I know.
Jets. I mean,
I
it's
know.
It's just like, that's not a great. I would
This
say that there's a possibility that 1, 2, 3. I mean, these top 5 could finish as RB2s possibly, but, like, it's like, yeah.
Let me say.
I mean-
let me change what I said. I said I love Michael Carter. I've never seen Michael Carter play a snap of football, but
You like the opportunity.
I love that he's on the Jets. It's what Curran just said.
It's gonna
I
be
mean,
you go on.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, there is absolutely the chance that he is the new Jets Frank Gore, of him not getting any real efficient work done, but he gets all of the work. And, you know, I hope that Mr. Carter surprises me and is actually a phenomenal running back. I think if I were to pick any just dartboard running back, he is absolutely the man. And I think that
The Jets.
just by opportunity, he
Jets
could be
are
an
gonna
RB2.
So bad. they're going to be so bad. Like, we all get hyped about these guys who get drafted. That's why I'm so hyped on Trey Lance, is because it's a unique unicorn situation where, like, San Francisco's a good team, and they just happen to fall into the spot to get, like, a franchise quarterback. Like, the Jets are awful. And they're going to be bad for a while. It's going to be it's going to be a grueling year for the Jets. They have a much better coaching staff. Things are looking up, but Adam Gase left that place in shambles, and they have lots of work to do. And so, watching that offense is going to be horrible, but it will get better. It's just going to be very, very gross. And I mean,
and as it gets better, Michael Carter will establish himself as an elite runner.
The reason I like Javonte Williams and Trey Sermon, and I'll say this really quick, is both their teams actively traded up to get them in the draft. Like we saw that Denver made an aggressive move. I think they traded like a 4th round pick or something, but they traded a lot to move up to the very first or the 3rd pick of the 2nd round to secure this dude over Miami. So I think it's one of those things that, like, whenever I see that type of move, and that's what the Colts did, and granted, JT took a little bit to get going, but I mean, they have plans for Javonte Williams out the gates, I feel like. So I'm very happy with his landing spot. I do think it's going to be kind of a, headache with Melvin Gordon there for the short term, but it's very, very good to see that a team like Denver actively moved up to go get him at 203.
And Aaron Rodgers will be there soon, so the offense will be even better.
That's also a very good point, Alexander. That is a fucking fantastic point that people are whispering. If Love or Aaron Rodgers ends up there, that fucking Javonte Williams value goes to the fucking moon.
Yeah, it does.
Holy smokes.
Well, we'll see what happens with these RBs in this first year. Will be interesting. Moving on now to the tight ends. We have a pretty in-depth breakdown for you of these guys. I really do think, and I know that y'all were calling for the Matt Ryan trade away or whatever for Atlanta to take a QB. As I prophesied,
I was wrong. You're right, Alexander. I missed that.
That was absurd to think. People are saying, "Oh, they're going to trade away Julio." No, they are not. This offense is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Tight end is such a hard position. Would you walk into a redraft league with Kyle Pitts being your tight end? Would you just start him week 1?
What do you think, Jack? I'll let you take it off.
Yeah, I would. I'm not gonna lie.
I think I would too.
I think because on top of this, right, Atlanta doesn't exactly have the best running back situation in the world, so I don't think
Mike
they're
Davis.
gonna
That's it.
I don't think they're gonna force Kyle Pitts to do an absurd amount of blocking. I think they're just basically gonna be running maybe. It's going to be like having a 4th wide receiver on the field. It's going to be unfair. It's going to be unbelievable.
Just doing 4 verts.
Unbelievable. He's going to be the biggest, effective slot receiver in the world. We talk about it from a dynasty, like a T premium standpoint, and I cannot tell you. We spoke about it earlier. I got Zach Wilson at the 107, and I was, Kern, be honest, at the 105, Kyle Pitts doesn't go, Golly goes, someone else. Are you taking Kyle Pitts over Trey Lance in any world?
Just because of our bet, I probably would have just because I'm so pot committed to our little bet we have on the side, I just know Kyle Pitts wouldn't make it up to the top 30. I just don't think that. I mean, I just feel like there's too much, too many quarterbacks, running backs would go to push him to the top 30, but it would be so tempting.
I was praying for Kyle Pitts to make it to me because I view that. I was going to offer you a Godfather offer very secretly. I was in texting like, okay, Jack, all jokes aside, what do you want? 'Cause I was watching it. I was going to offer you a very, very. I don't know if it would have been something that you would have accepted. I don't even know what I was going to come up with, but I knew that if you didn't take it, I was going to stop and think, and I was going to text you and be like, let's make some magic happen because you're pretty excited at tight end. But I mean,
no,
honestly,
I totally agree.
Think about being able to start in a league where you have that TE premium, right? Waller, Kittle, Pitts, and you can cycle off various receivers or Hunter Henry. I'm not saying that's a fantastic strategy to win every week, but if you think about it from tight ends that will most certainly have the opportunity to get 8+ targets a game, and very likely to get good red zone work. All 4 of those guys are in fantastic positions, and you could have fantasy weeks where 2 of those guys blow up from the tight end position, and you just annihilate whoever you're matched up with.
Kyle Pitts is he's like, I was listening to a podcast, and this guy described him as a mismatch nightmare, and that is exactly what he is. You watch him, you can't put safeties, corners, you can't, like, we put our best safety on him when we played him at LSU. Like, it just doesn't do anything. I mean, like, he has the ability to outrun, outgrab, out everything any player on defense. It is watch this tape, Alexander, just to like watch it and appreciate how fucking stupid this dude is.
Yeah.
He is. It's tough. Real quick, it's tough for tight ends to produce right away in the NFL though. So like, there's always that risk. Like, I remember when David Njoku was coming out, and this isn't like he's not up there with them, but he was very highly regarded. And like, O.J. Howard, and I remember like T.J. Hawkinson went like in the top 10, I think. So
Well,
I mean,
Noah Fant
did
did pretty good year one.
They had okay year one, but how valuable so, all right, so Hawkinson, like, if Stafford was still there, like, I mean, Hawkinson has value, but like, how much higher? It's hard for these guys to become like.
No, I get what you're saying.
Kittle level, so it is a risk, but like, if anyone's gonna do it, it's this motherfucker. So I would rank them in the top 8 at least, or top 5. I mean, I feel like I'll be stupid and overdraft him everywhere. So
yeah, I mean, I liked Golly's rookie pick. He took him at the 103. I thought I had no problem with that whatsoever. Yeah. Then we of course have our end of the tight end list, Pat Bluetooth Kern. I know you're a big fan of Pat and his Bluetooth family. Do you have any analysis for us about Pat Bluetooth?
I mean, it's unfortunate for Pat Bluetooth or Firemouth because Kyle Pitts out this class, dude, and I think he's better than Cole Kmet. I think he's better than the fucking Trout God. Like, I mean, or like a better prospect. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he would have a lot more reign in this class, and you would see him go at like the top of the second round. I feel like in the Superflex Prime Premium draft, if he got the type of respect that he should have gotten. Like, he's actually a very good tight end. Like, I watched a little bit of his tape and like kind of nerded out a little bit about him because as like a value pick, like, I mean, he's definitely solid. It's unfortunate that he's getting completely outshined by a unicorn, but I mean, good position, good landing spot. R.I.P. Eric Ebron. Hate to see you go, but you invest a second rounder into a tight end. I mean, that's pretty significant, I feel like.
Yeah. Miss me with that shit, Curran. No part of me is touching him.
I mean, like, where would you take him in a Superflex Dynasty draft? Rookie draft. You wouldn't take him, like, look at these. So after the wide receivers, like, would you take him over Tutu Atwell?
I would.
Well, yeah, but we just watched a rookie draft where Tutu Atwell went at the 4-9. Like, he went literally 39th overall. Even in a 12-man league, that's the 4th round.
Would you take
some leagues don't even run.
Rondale Moore, like Elijah Moore?
Definitely not Elijah Moore. No chance.
I don't know. I'm not trying to say that this guy's the man. I'm just saying that he is actually a good tight end prospect. I mean, he's not like amazing, but he's better than the ones that came out last year. And Cole Kmet went in the second round of tight end Superflex leagues, tight end premium leagues last year. I mean, I don't know. It's not a bad spot. It's prime. I think it's a decent spot for him.
He went at the 303 in our draft just now. Hammer Lippy got him at 303. So
good value.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
I think so too.
I'll say this: if he turns out to be a discount version of Noah Fant, I would be surprised.
Oh, he's not Noah Fant by any means. If he turns out to be like, I mean, if he could be someone, I think he's guaranteed to be like a top 15, top 12 tight end, which I mean, like, has
when
value, is what I'm saying.
When?
I mean, just in the future. I mean, he's a good prospect, or like at least that's what the professional.
He will be streamable eventually, is what Curran's calling for.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's like a fucking you should sell the farm for Pat Firemouth. I'm just saying, like, if we're looking at the tight end landscape, let's not just say, oh, he's like, I don't know, like a Jay Sternberger type of guy. Like, he's actually like, he has merit. Like, he has some merit. He's not just someone you throw fab on at the end of a draft. Like, take him in your rookie drafts somewhere.
Yep.
Like, he has value.
Well, is he a Robert Tonyan? That's the real question for this league
That's
and
probably
this podcast.
His ceiling is probably a Robert Tonyan. His ceiling's probably being a red zone target for whoever takes over at Pittsburgh in the next 2 years and giving you like top 10 tight end value, which isn't amazing because like tight ends usually it's like you only care about the top like 5, but like it's something. I think that
right.
it's fun.
I mean that's a good things to wrap tight ends up on. Pat Bluetooth will eventually be worth trading 1-for-1 for Josh Allen. Moving on. Winners and losers. Just wanted to. I mean, this is what I was talking about with ETN. Winners and losers in the respect of established players that have just gotten jammed by this draft, and I think no one exemplifies this more than James Robinson. And we were talking about it 2 weeks ago, like, how do you draft him if they pick somebody? Like, well, we just have to hope they don't draft someone. Well, they very well did. How do you draft James Robinson going forward?
I'm just not.
I'm not either. I didn't know if y'all were.
If it's enough of a value to where, like, if I'm using bench spots on him where I'm taking shots in the dark, sure. But, like, it's just something that you gotta listen to the NFL. And if someone, I mean, like, it's a rebuilding franchise. They took Sunshine. They want to build this wonderful team around him. And the first pick they do with that is to take his fucking running back from college. Like, miss me with that.
No.
I'm just, like, it's not something I'm signed up for.
Redraft, I'll put him at an RB3, RB4 potential category.
I don't even think he's there. Because
I think there's enough there, and I'll cap it with my dynasty analysis, which is he's very young. He's probably on a super friendly contract to the Jags, and he proved his ability and what he can do, in a not ideal situation, obviously. If you're an RB needy team, he's young enough that even from a dynasty standpoint, he still has some value. If you're out there and you're in need of a running back this year or next year, and someone is shook to their core on what just happened, I would go snag him in a dynasty league.
What would you trade for him? I would trade a 3rd round pick for him.
Oh wow, I would trade more than a 3rd round pick for him.
I wouldn't at all, Jack, because we just saw what happened with these undrafted guys. Philip Lindsay balled out his rookie year. And now Philip Lindsay is on a trash deal on the Texans behind David Johnson and Mark Ingram. And that, I guess, draft capital is king. And this sucks because I think James Robinson is awesome. As a Texans fan, I love undrafted guys because the comp is always for Arian Foster, just a awesome dude who made the most of it. But that is the exception, not the rule. And I feel bad because I feel like he's not going to get another real shot.
I mean, Philip Lindsay gave you a good year after, not only on top of his rookie year, right, when he kind of broke out and probably had some more value. He gave you a pretty solid year the year after that, and then has injury problems last year. Significantly less value this year, right? But I'm just saying, like, from a value perspective and what I'm expecting to get out of a 3rd round pick in any dynasty league, right? Like, let's acknowledge to a certain standpoint, like, it is literally an educated guess and dart throw at start of the 3rd round is an educated guess and a dart throw at the end of the 3rd round. So depending on what you're trading away, I would take James Robinson over that.
I hope you're right, because I think it would be really cool for him to continue to be successful. I'm not going to spend my capital on that. I guess
more losers.
Yeah,
I'm
just thinking. I think the Texans are losers from the whole draft.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a huge loser.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a huge loser. But Andy Dalton, big, the big lose.
Big lose there.
I mean, okay, well, hold on. That's not fair to be like Andy Dalton's the big loser. Like Jimmy Garoppolo goes.
He was on the team for 6 weeks. Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo goes from being a starting quarterback in a desirable city to be in with a great coaching situation.
Whoa, is this saying Chicago's not Lippman? Where are you?
A legitimate chance to win, right?
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy G, like if Trey Lance doesn't go there, right? Like no one's gonna call you insane for saying the 49ers would go 11-6 this year and go to the playoffs. No one would call you insane.
I completely agree.
But if you sat here and said the Bears can be threatening with Andy Dalton, right? Everyone would laugh you out of the fucking room.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Obviously, Raheem Mostert's a loser. Melvin Gordon, I mean, they weren't really winners to begin with. You know who's a really fucking big winner, though? Is Myles Gaskin.
Yes.
Out of nowhere, out of like one of the few shining spots where we all thought we knew where these fucking running backs were going to go. Like, the Dolphins have so much fucking capital to play with, all these draft picks, and they pass on everybody. They traded out of a spot.
Yeah.
To let, it's just like, I mean, like, it's...
Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
good for Myles Gaskin.
Maybe they can go get James Robinson. He lives in Florida already.
Oh. Who knows? Myles Gaskin might end up on the Texans. We need more running backs.
Myles Gaskin's going to be in a much better offense. God, he's going to be annoying. He's going to be annoyingly good, and I'm going to hate it because he's just an undrafted guy, wherever they put into him. I don't know if it was undrafted or yeah, they didn't draft running back till the 7th round. They drafted Jarek Dokes. So, I mean, that's his competition.
They got a lot more weapons, or not a lot more, but they got more weapons for Jalen Hurts. They got him a backup running back. I think Miles Sanders is a loser.
Yeah, he's a loser. I feel bad for that. I mean, like, 5th round draft capital for running backs, not anything to go crazy over. Like, I don't think it's a huge loser, but I think that just the nature of the running back they got is like, it just sucks.
I think that Peterson wanted Wentz and Sanders, and front office doesn't, and I think that he's on his way out. But we'll see. Jack, I know that you're a big Sanders believer. Do you think I'm just talking nonsense?
I think so, because I think Miles Sanders was a fantastic receiving back, during his rookie year, and that was, his lineup and duties, and I don't think that, just because he's being expected to shoulder more of the load, that drafting a complimentary receiving back to take some of that off of him, would be
he's
any real
threat.
threat.
He's such a good receiving back, though. He was coming in as historically rated out, broke PFF charts and receiving grades. It's the worst running back to go into a running back room. This is what it is. I don't think it really does much because it's a 5th round investment, so it's not like, I mean, if he went in the 3rd round, obviously it's a big deal. But I mean, it's something to not
something that you can't ignore.
Look, if you're a Miles Sanders owner like me, I should probably be doing my homework and making sure that I at least have him or have a way to get him, or I'm positioning my team where if someone else drafted him and I didn't, I've got a piece that they need so that when the time comes right, I can strike. But, if anything, I think come this fall, there will probably be 2 or 3 red zone moments where I just look at my phone and I'm like, well, why the fuck was Miles Sanders not in there catching that? But I would limit it at 2 or 3. I don't think it's going to be a weekly occurrence, and I'm like, God damn it, not again. So, not too scared, but I'll see those points.
We'll see. Real quick, to wrap up, we've got a slide that Jack composed, Detective Jack, of lots of screenshots. We talked about the me and Hunter trade earlier, and there is the picture where I have to defend accusations of collusion. That's the joke trade we did for Gurley and Lamar.
Oh, Jesus.
Kern.
So stupid.
Why did you change Jonathan Taylor's nickname to Trent Richardson?
I was pissed. I was really upset, Alexander. I was really mad. It was a... you know how... look, it reminded me of this. Look, as someone who loves running back prospects, you gotta understand how much, and I give Derrick Henry a lot of shit, but how much I loved him coming out of college. I was so happy to see a big beefy cake go to the Titans and just do it. And he had to sit behind DeMarco Murray, and then when he finally got his chance to run, he just ran so pathetically. Like, he ran like a bitch. Like, he ran straight up and didn't put his shoulder down. He didn't put any effort into his moves. He just ran like he just ran afraid. And then finally, I don't know what lightning bolt hit his head or whatever, but like he started running with purpose, and that's when you see him destroying people. And that's what if you watch early tape of JT during the season, because I would go back and watch those games, it's like he ran and would like get nervous and wouldn't make confident moves in the pocket, and made me very fucking scared. I was like, holy shit, this guy literally is seeing ghosts in the pocket, and it's terrifying. And like I started to panic, and so yeah, I got real upset because he had a few really bad games, Alexander, where he was averaging like 10 yards a carry, and Jordan Wilkins was outproducing him, and it looked awful. It was the worst. It was a nightmare scenario for someone who harps prospects like running backs, because I feel very confident in my ability to, kind of scout running backs.
Scout
like
Kern.
Someone who had the attributes that Jonathan Taylor had in the grade and the athletic profile. Like, the difference between Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris is fucking speed. Like, it's terrifying. Like, Najee Harris has no ability to break 60-yard touchdown runs with speed. Like, Jonathan Taylor can fucking do that. Like, Derrick Henry can do that. Like, that's why he's so valuable. They traded up to get him. Offensive line's on fleek. No cap. It's like everything was so perfect, Alexander, and then you watch it just crumble. And like, yeah, it reminded me of. I mean, I think he was a better prospect than Trent Richardson, but it was very similar. So I was having a rough season. I think I was like, losing games, and so yeah, I think I was pretty upset by his performance. He probably got 10 carries for 5 yards, and Jordan Wilkins probably scored 3 touchdowns, and so I called him Trent Richardson, and lo and behold, now he's like a consensus first-round pick. He's like the consensus RB2 in Dynasty, and we know the rest of the story. He's living large, so age like milk on a counter. What the fuck you say?
And that trade that you've got up there, that was the Lippy Timo trade for James Robinson, right, Jack?
Yeah, I think that was after, as someone that drafted Calvin Ridley and then didn't get the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Didn't really need those 2 weeks of 2 touchdowns a pop. But wow, did Lippy make out like a bandit.
Yeah, that's some Smucker's jam right there. That's 100% grape.
33.9 points, then 30 points. He had 12 targets, 10 targets, 100 yards each game, 2 touchdowns, and yeah, he took that inflation and then pawned it off for 2 decent players. I mean, like, Marquise ran something crazy, but I mean, every day.
If you're streaming a wide receiver 3, or you're in a bad bye week situation and you even call him a wide receiver 2, Marquise Brown isn't that bad. Like, could do something. Like, that's just the Ravens, passing offense for you, though. Like, could do something is very dependent on what's going on there. But you guys talked about it on the last episode where I obviously wasn't here to defend myself. But like, I think that trade, if anything, is what made Lippy arguably a surefire lock for the wild card. And I will say that, like, when Lippy started making moves, week 10, week 11, and was very upfront about it being, I think I'm going to make playoffs, and I know I'm going to be the wild card, so I'm going to get players that have great week 15 matchups and great pedigree that haven't necessarily performed this season, so I'm going to buy low, and hopefully come week 15 when their teams are either pushing for playoffs or playing in competitive, good, strong matchups for them. Like, that was terrifying to watch. I think this trade sets it all up. So that's why I highlighted it here. Obviously, didn't get to format the rest of this slide because A&F made that cursed, Jack wins 5 straight, want to see me do it again meme. I lost, I think, the next week. And then the really, my favorite one, which A&F, please make sure that this is highlighted, is that Hunter was making fun of me for not making the playoffs and happens to quote, it's like, hope to see you in the playoffs this year, Jack. And he sure fucking did. He saw every single fucking inch. So
we'll have to have Hunter on the show, and we can do a championship recap with you two. I know that he would probably really enjoy that. But Jack, real quick before we end, because we've gone a bit long, we had everyone do their plant their flag winners of leagues last week or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. Who do you think, value-wise, talent-wise? I mean, it can be CMC if you want. Who do you think is going to win people leagues this year?
Well, I know Curran got 2 picks, so
You can say 2 if you want.
I'm 1,000 gonna do 2. 1,000% gonna do 2, and my first one is a definite homer pick, and
It's
someone
Sam
who is near and dear to my heart. But if you are looking for an extremely high ceiling receiver, you can do no better than getting your wide receiver 3 being Mike Williams.
Oh my god.
That offense in LA, the big body opportunity there.
What?
I will go grab Mike Williams. I am going to do it.
You will
And I
be
did
able
that
to.
just
You will get him for $2.
Yeah, what the heck? Okay, alright, you said you're picking 2. What's the real one?
You need some help, buddy. I'm gonna give you some
No, I don't. No, I don't. Look,
For the viewers
just
at
because
home, Jack historically picks Mike Williams probably every year, and I see the appeal because he's like a defensive end playing wide receiver. He's prototypical Calvin Johnson. It ain't it, Chief, but I respect it.
Can't even say Calvin Johnson's name in the same. Don't stop that. You're encouraging him, Curran.
It's funny, so I'm like encouraging it.
look, my analysis is very limited in that I like Mike Williams, his big body, and there's a reason the Chargers picked up his 5th-year option, right? That's certainly not the cheapest. That's not the cheapest option in the world for the Chargers to approach it with, and if they wanted to, in terms of move on from him or do something else, they could have.
Sure.
There's something there, right? And I see a little part of that, right, could be the fact that Hunter Henry is gone. And so, keeping at least some consistency around Herbert is important for the Chargers. So I'm not going to act like, Mike Williams is there long term, that him and Herbert are boys. But, for what you're getting from a value perspective and what that Chargers offense represents and what you potentially get out of the Chargers if you have, a healthy Austin Eckler all year. That's not to say you're going to get a healthy Mike Williams all year. In fact, it is fairly certain that you will not. But there's some value there. Like, that is a high-flying offense with lots of targets to go around and a lot of red zone opportunity. Everyone is down on Mike Williams from the past year, but we're a short.
Past 3. But
what was it?
Yeah.
What was it? It wasn't last season. It was the season before that he went for 10 touchdowns.
I think it was
Mike Williams real quick.
As a second year.
Really quick. Let's look at his history.
I think it was.
He's finished as PPR. He's finished as a wide receiver 137, 32, 39, and 46. He's played 10 games, 16, 15, and 15 games. The most receptions he's caught in a year has been 49. He had 1,000 yards in 2019, and he had 10 touchdowns in 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen, get him while you can before Jack does. Jack,
Pretty sure he was a 1,000-yard receiver last year too. Curran,
where did he finish last year?
He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. He was a 756-yard receiver last year.
You round up, Curran. You round up, Curran. You round up.
Yes, you round up. I don't know. Sure, yeah, you round up. But who's your second one?
Jack, who's your second one? Because there's no way it's as good as that bit of intel right there.
That was a very fun joke to get out.
That was a fun one. Yes.
I've been planning that for so long. As soon as I heard that segment, I was like, wow, can you imagine the lulls whenever I
It's
say
Mike Williams.
out loud?
I'm about to say, Jesus Christ. I tried to defend you too. Holy shit. Like, go on.
So this is someone I also own, but did not. I wanted him bad last year, and I lucked out by not getting him, and that is old George Kittle. I think that after a down year in San Francisco, and on top of it, you may get a few people that discount the rookie QB situation and what's going on there.
Like you.
I think he has.
Look, exactly.
I'm
like
telling you. I'm telling you right now that hold Hold on.
You said he's not as good as Jimmy Garoppolo.
I said that Trey Lance.
He's not as NFL ready.
Oh my lord, I'm so happy we have this on tape
Recorded.
now.
We'll go back
so
and
that
listen.
People can go back and listen and say, "Oh wow, Jack did just say." That,
If I'm wrong, I'm
Trey
editing
Lance
it out.
will lose 2 more of the first 6 games than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Look, I love Trey Lance. I totally agree with you, but go on.
Literally, I'm just saying that George Kittle, after a down year last year, kind of injury riddled, you may be able to snipe him for a little bit of a better discount where he should probably go as the tight end 1 or the tight end 2.
Somewhere where you'll have an elite advantage at a shitty position. Yeah, for sure. That's a really good pick.
I mean, I would go to venture and say that over the past 6 or 7 years, within Apex, and you go look at playoff-worthy teams, they've had elite tight end play and elite running back play. It's typically those 2 things are what get you there, and then on top of that, you're either absolutely lucking out with the quarterback you get from a standpoint of drafting
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Tight
Lamar
end
Jackson's a
definitely
great
makes such a
example.
difference. Yeah.
Like all of the past winners and real noisemakers in Apex have elite tight end play.
Yep.
So if you're gonna say what's the best value / what do you go get, it's an elite tight end.
Well,
you can find value elsewhere.
And we'll talk about a contrary opinion, the wide receiver cliff, next time. Thank you all so much. Like, comment, subscribe, and submit your mailbag questions. We'll see y'all later.